I'll just record here. Do you see it's recording?
Yes, it's a message here that this reunion is being recorded.
Perfect. Okay, well, I will send you the link now. Copy. And that should be the link. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I'm going to tell...
Yeah, I'm going to put it up on my socials as well.
Yes. So yeah, college here is taking charge of the putting the link on socials. So
perfect. Okay, well, there's one watching now, so we mightn't have anybody. But
maybe it's my college.
Oh no, because I haven't. I wasn't able to schedule it for some reason. But sorry, I'll just put if anyone has any questions. Oh, now we have more people watching. So, okay, we can start then. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Adventure Games podcast. I hope everyone is well. This is our very first live video interview. So, yeah, things might go wrong. They probably will go wrong, but let's just go with it. So, apologies in advance, and I hope people will enjoy it. I am here with Chema from Superlumen, who is working on Desolation. He's our first live guest / guinea pig.
That's me, yeah.
So, hello, Chema. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm fine. Here, in the sunny Spain, so everything is sunny here.
I see that. I see from your background, from your window. It's very sunny. Is it warm as well?
Is I didn't say warm, but it's yes, it's fine. It's a good weather.
Oh, it's quite warm here in for January in Ireland as well. Usually it's kind of like raining and snowy. Wait, maybe a bit snow and very wet, but it's been fantastic weather here. It's been very, very sunny since this month, which is just incredible. So, which is not normal for Ireland.
Yeah, weather is crazy. No, weather is crazy.
We have two people saying hello, Cressup and hello, KCCC, who've just written into the chat. So again, apologies in advance if anything does go wrong, which I'm sure it will. But hopefully, again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in for Chema. But right, well, we can get started then. So Chema, before we start talking about your game, how about you can introduce yourself and you can let us know a little bit who you are and what your favorite adventure games are.
I'm Chema, and I'm the game designer in Superlumen. It's a video game studio here in Spain. And I love video games. I'm in the video games since I was a child, really, really small. I remember I started with with Atari, my first console, like long time ago. And I always loved the adventure games. Always, I started with Maniac Mansion, and I played, I think, all the Lucas Arts adventure games like Monkey Island, Day of the Tentacle, Indiana Jones. I don't know, all of them.
All the classics.
Yeah, Sam and Max. All. I grow up with those games, and I love it. And I still play these kind of games. I think the last one I played is the Dark Side Detective.
Yes. What was
I
it? Season
really,
one or season two?
I think season one. Actually, I didn't know that there is a season two, but I'm gonna check it because I like a lot this game. So
It's I reviewed it on the podcast, and it's just as good as season one. It's just as funny. It's
really fun that those
funny
games,
all the way through.
and the
It's
pixel art is lovely.
oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, I love
But
it.
if you like the pixel art, now I promise you we'll get to your game in just a moment. But if you like the Dark Side Detective and the pixel art in that game, I would recommend as well playing Inspector Waffles, which is
Ah,
maybe
yes.
slightly different humor. It's still funny, but more serious. But the pixel art looks very, very similar. And the developer Jan told me it was a coincidence. He hasn't actually played the Dark Side Detective, so but it looked really, really nice as well. But yeah, no, all the LucasArts classics and all, the latest one, the Dark Side Detective as well. And they were one of my first guests, Spooky Doorway, and they're just as funny in real life as in the game. I think a little bit more intelligent than the characters.
It's not difficult, because the characters are quite silly. Oh god.
But no, but they have a very, I think, good sense of humor.
Mm.
But yeah. So and then, while we're waiting for maybe questions in the chat again, if people in the chat want to ask you a question. But first question that I have for you is, how did you come up with the studio and in particular the name Superlumen? Is there any meaning to the lame or to the name? Not lame. Apologies to the name by any chance, which is not lame.
I could tell you a really cool story about the name, but the real story is that we pay to creativity agency
Oh.
to look for the name. The background of the name is like Superlumen. We wanted a name that is easy to pronounce in every language. I mean, it's easy in English and easy in Spanish. It's not difficult to pronounce, and in our beginning of the company, we started really focusing in VR, and the VR, the VR Googles, they have like this light measure that is lumens, and they mix all this super stuff with, and it's cool. Super everything is cool, and lumen is the this light measure unity. So we mix both of them, and Superlumen was born.
Cool. So then it was super, and it was illuminating then.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so now your game then you're working on a game. I believe it's pronounced, is it Desolation? How do you
Desolatium.
Desolatium?
Yes.
So how about you tell us about this game then, if you wish. So what is the game about, and how did this idea come about?
The game is about we the game is based in Lovecraft mythos, Lovecraft world
Mm-hmm.
and stories, and is as in these stories you always have to fight with a great old god, and we are really fans of Lovecraft. We play a lot. We start playing role, with dice and all stuff in person with our friends. We are really role fans, and we knew Lovecraft for this game. We start playing this kind of games. So when we thought about making a video game, why don't you try to make something? We love this playing these games, right? But why don't you try to take this and in a computer and make the people play these kind of games? So that's how the idea came up. And the story is, you're gonna play with four characters, and these four characters, they're gonna be in the same story but from different points of view, and their paths will be mixing during the adventure. So the things you do with one of them maybe affect to the rest of the characters, and in the end you have to save the world. It's always there is a cult that they want to wake up this old deity, and you have to stop them, and there will be so many surprises during your journey to this to this
Yeah, no, it's really intriguing. I mean, there's been plenty of Lovecraft games that have been released as well. So it sounds very ambitious. Sounds kind of like epic in nature with four different characters, and that their actions will take effect on each other as well.
The
Yes.
the one of the important things we really are into is really important for us is the story. We have here two guys, two friends. They are the ones who wrote this story, and it's quite interesting and difficult to do because you have like four characters and each character has their story and they have to mix all these in one, only one. So it was like a challenge for them, but we were really taking our time in this the story, the script for the game. So it's important. And one thing that it's interesting too is that it's normal that all these Lovecraft stories are based in last time and 19th and something like that century, but this one is in the actual time. So you're gonna play a Lovecraft story, but in nowadays.
Wow. So it's yeah, because it's they're not. I thought that there are a lot of Lovecraft games out there, but not many Lovecraft games based in the modern day.
Yes, yes.
So, well, I played the prologue, which I really, really enjoyed. I was, really intrigued by it as well. You mentioned the story as well. That really intrigued me. Now, and I suppose before we get into the, story as well, what you mentioned you played the role playing game for Lovecraft. What do you think it is about Lovecraft and the mythos that attracted you and so many other people as well? Because it has such an appeal for
Hmm.
people, for writers, for developers, for gamers, creators of all kind. What is it for you that appeals to you? What do you think appeals to a lot of players and a lot of people?
I think the mystery surrounding all the stories of Lovecraft. You start like a normal person always, and you little by little, you step by step, you're getting into a big, huge thing that called want to wake up. I don't know, a old deity, or there is something behind all the normal people that is trying to do something, but it's always start like a really, really in a simple way, and then the evolution of the story always takes you to a place that you have no idea that there was there. And it's this fight between a normal person and these great deities that is really and the discover the mystery, the process is what we love the most of these kind of stories.
Yeah, that's fair enough because there's something the mystery behind it that appeals to so many people. And I don't know if this is a spoiler, maybe. I mean, I don't know, but will the Necromonicon make an appearance in the game, or are you able to tell us?
um I think we have some notes about the Necronomicon, but the book in the game, I think, is not going to be.
Okay. So now again, you mentioned four characters, and I mentioned this seemed very ambitious. Is this your first game? Because usually people say to start small and then build up, but this sounds quite ambitious.
It is. Our commercial game is the first one. We have done so many games, but some games
Okay.
for we start with Sanatorium. Was another game we launched for VR, but this was not commercial. It was for free and just for trying, and then yes, it's our second game. But we have done so many experiences and apps and games for third companies, person companies, not for us. We started as a service company in VR, making games for other people, and this is our first adventure by Superlumen.
Okay, so so your experience at least making other games and
We have
in
some
VR
experience,
as well,
yes.
which we'll talk about in just a bit. But And at first, and again, I don't know if you want to reveal any more because I do know we don't want to give any spoilers. Are you able to tell us a little bit about the four characters who we will play as, or will we find out more when we play the game?
Actually, there is a demo right now on Steam that you can try for free, and there are the two first chapters of the game. The game will have like around 14 chapters, 15, I think, and you can play the first two with the two first characters. You will play with Carter, who is a professor in a university, and with Sophie, there is another professor, is a friend of Carter, and then you have another two. The other two is Christopher, who is the boyfriend of Carter, and he's a journalist in a newspaper. And of course, James, there is a private detective who is investigating something about this cult and so on. So that's are the four main characters, and of course there is more NPCs and the bad guys, who is one of the no, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. No. Let's continue, please.
Okay, so we got to know a little bit about the four main characters,
yes.
And I think that's kind of enough to whet our appetite. It's and so how did you then come up with the character? Did you come up with the story first, and then the character? Did you come up with them at the same time? Did you come up with, okay, maybe with these four characters would be interesting, and then write the story around them? And again, without any spoilers, I'm just curious with the process, because you mentioned that the story was the first thing for you guys. So I'm just very curious about the process.
It was complicated, as I told you before, the story, because we have a lot of, it was important for us to develop this story. So in the beginning, we start with a skeleton of the story, the main things we want there, like the beginning, the end, like a rough skeleton. And then we start with the characters. And of course, while we put these characters in the story, we have to change some things, some reviews, and it's always like that. And it took a lot of time to have like the final version of the script. Because always we have an idea and try to put it, but you don't know if it's gonna fit and where it's gonna fit and all this stuff. But yes, the first part was the skeleton, and then we were putting all the things there.
Yeah, so that sounds good. So then you put everything
together. Yeah.
Okay, no, that sounds good. And then with the gameplay. So before we talk a bit about the VR aspect, what can you tell us about the gameplay and the puzzles in the game, and what can we expect? So what type of game is this? Like a walking simulator kind of exploration game, or is there anything else? So yeah. So what can you tell us about it?
Yes, as you say, is we want to tell that the game is like a classic point and click, but in 360 degrees. Some people say that it's like a walking simulator, but it's not. You have more, the puzzles are in the way of the old puzzles of point and click, where we have to mix some objects to create new ones, use the right object in some place, but we have some puzzles more complicated than that one. More the logic puzzles that you have to, to interpret some words that you have in a paper, and you have to use this paper to translate the things and know what you have to do. Things like that, the complicated thing. And we even have a chapter where you have to use quick time events to escape from
from the monsters.
Yes, a monster.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for me, a walking simulator is a game that has really no puzzles. So the fact that there are puzzles in your game, I would say
it's full of puzzles.
Now, I love walking simulators, and the next person I'll be speaking with is making a kind of a walking simulator exploration game. But then in terms of the puzzles, then you mentioned that there are logic puzzles and some quick time events. I suppose how did you ensure that they make sense in this world, in this game, and that they fit in with the story narrative? Because I imagine that must be um quite challenging, maybe, because a lot of times, and a lot of even some of the best classic adventure games, there are times when a puzzle comes up and it's like, oh, there's no relation to the story whatsoever. So how do you ensure that you make sure that you at least attempt to do this, which I'm sure you do, because I think puzzles have improved over the years. So yeah, how do you ensure that you try and fit them into the
We
story?
Yes, as I told you, I'm the game designer, so I'm the one in charge to create all these puzzles. But while I was creating them, I was talking all the time with the writers of the game, because I wanted to make sure, as you say, that the puzzles fit and they make sense in the world they have created in the script and the story and so on, the lore of the game and everything. So we were really working like together to make this happen. And uh, and after that we have to try them to see if not only they fit in the story, but if they make sense and they're logic enough. Because one of the problems when you're developing a game is that you are really into your game,
Mm.
so you're used to your game, and you have to share your game with other people to tell you, you think that they make sense, but it doesn't make at all, because you see that makes sense because you're playing the whole day your game, but maybe for other people that don't make any sense. So it's really important that let your people play your game and get feedback from them to fix these things.
And have you tested it with other people? Have there been any game testers to see if if they what they think of the puzzles as well?
We try to test, when we finish the game that we are in the last months. I think for March we will have ready the whole game. um and then the game will be tested by
Mm.
QA people and but now we are testing with our friends, or people who even in the internet. We have a Discord channel, and sometimes we release some part of the game so people can test it and give a feedback about it. So yes, as I told you, it's really important. As soon you identify these problems, is
Mm.
is better.
Of course, and I imagine it must be difficult as well to see which feedback to kind of take on board, because some puzzles might be difficult for some people. I mean, for example, I'm not good at puzzles, and I'll admit that. Whereas for other people, they might want puzzles to be even more difficult and more
Yes,
challenging. So
yes,
I suppose you have to try and figure out, okay, who do we listen to? Do we listen to people who maybe want fewer puzzles or want more puzzles? And then with the QuickTime events, which you mentioned, again, how would you say the difficulty of the QuickTime events is? For to add, I'm sure they add maybe more tension to the game. And then how would you say then is the difficulty with these QuickTime events? In your game?
you have a plan, and you want
Mm.
the difficulty. It has like we create like a line,
Mm.
how we want to create. Maybe the first chapters, they have like really easy puzzles, so the people can get into the game and know the dynamics and how to play and everything. And then maybe you have a really more difficult puzzle. But then if it is a really difficult, you want to give maybe after that a little bit easier, so the people don't frustrate playing the
Mm.
game. So it's not easy, and you have to work a lot in the, I don't know how to say, the flux of the game, to feel how to feel the game, and fit all of that with the script. Because
Mm.
maybe some parts you want to make it most difficult, because it has to be difficult what you want to accomplish in this part of the script. You are, I don't know, stealing some artifact and
Mm.
from, I don't know, the cult that they have in a really sacred place, and so that part must be difficult.
Mm.
But to get information from another guy to get into another place or whatever, maybe that part must be easier. So it's not easy, and it's a challenge, as you said, and all this feedback is useful for us, but it depends who is telling you, and you from all the feedback you have to pick what things you believe are important, and maybe some feedback is not important from a part of the game that is not really really important. So yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah, but what I like about what you're saying is that you have things kind of like thought through, that you have like a graph, like, okay, we're going to have a challenging puzzle here, but then afterwards it'll be easier and then more challenging again. And as you say, if you're trying to steal some sacred object from an old cult, it's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah, of course.
So I think we can maybe expect that. And now Kieran in the chat mentions that classic point and click in 360 degrees. This sounds fascinating. Which if I could, if I was more adventurous myself, I could try and share screenshots with on the video. Hopefully, I can do that at a later point. But I agree. And what I really liked about, at least I played the prologue. What I really liked about it is the visuals. They look very different. It looks like kind of like you're in photographs in the game, and you can turn around 360 degrees. I'm not entirely sure how you came about. So how did you create the visuals of this game? How did you go about that?
The cool thing about this is that those are real places. We
Wow.
went there and record. We have a special cameras to take all the 360 degrees place we want to put in the game, and after that we take these pictures and we take them for Photoshop or whatever. We change everything we want. We put the ambience we want to put, and then in the graphic engine we put these pictures and add the 3D models. The skies, for example, in this product is all made by the Unreal Engine. We put in the Unreal Engine, so you can see all these things. But the beginning is like sometimes we feel like it's like a movie, because we have to look for the sets and the places we want to record, and the settings, and go there and take pictures. Most of the prologue is recorded in a village in Spain called Atienza. There is like a medieval village, as you can see. Is an amazing place, and of course it's not exactly how you see on the game, but it's a really really cool place.
That's good to know. That's not exactly as it is in the game.
Because there are no ghouls and this kind of stuff. They're not there.
It's safe to visit.
Yes, it is. And it's a really lovely people, and it was for us was great, because they gave us everything we need to make the recording of the place. So we like these people. Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating, because we can actually go to these places ourselves if you wanted to see where the game was. So then you took photographs then and put them into the engine then, and you worked on the you mentioned the sky as well.
Mm-hmm.
It looks, and then you mentioned you worked on VR games as well, and this game is I believe it's going to be available on VR as well.
Yes, the prologue you can play in VR, and the demo of the new game is not ready for the VR yet. Sorry, but we're working on that. And the final game is going to be VR compatible.
Okay. And does that change the way you make the game, with the puzzles as well, with the game? I mean, obviously the gameplay will be different, but does that change like how you create the puzzles and the overall gameplay then? Is that in your mind when you're making the game?
Yes, it is. It is, and it's different because one of the most complicated things about creating a game for VR is that you can't. It's not easy to point the player where you want they focus in. It's difficult because you can't move their head. They are free to move their head wherever you want. But if something is happening in your, I don't know, left, but maybe you're watching another place in there, you can miss what is happening there. So it's really really difficult to the story, to tell the story if you can't point the player to the place where something is happening. So it's difficult in that part. And also the the user experience, of course, is different too, because for a computer or console video game, for example, you know that your screen is going to be where you're going to see everything. So you can put your, I don't know, the live meter in the right corner, top corner. You know, you can set everything whatever you want, but in 3D is not, I mean, in 360 on VR, it's not easy to do that because you're gonna move your head, and if you want to feel the immersion in game, you can have it something, you know, like a flea always following you that is going to distract you from this your surroundings. So it's difficult. It's difficult in that place. We always start creating the experience on video games for VR first, but in this game we are doing all the way around. We are creating the game for PC and consoles first, and then we're going to port it to VR. So we have to be careful with what we do for these PC versions, because later maybe it's going to be difficult to you know to port that to VR. But yeah, you always have to think about what you're doing. And the problem is maybe you take a decision today, and I don't know, 3 chapters more in the future, the decision you took before is going to, you know, put you in a trouble in the future because it's going to affect to something you have to do later. So it's always, yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, and it sounds like there are lots of challenges, but again, it looks like you are thinking things through, you know, in advance, which is good. Good to see that you're not just going, oh, let's just try this.
But it's always, we think a lot, but we always miss something. So
of course, I mean, yeah, I think that happens to just about everybody. So,
yes.
But yeah, and then. Is it because how big is VR? You know, I know it's become bigger and more people are using it and all. Has it entered really the casual market or the gaming market yet? Is it still becoming bigger? You know, because I don't know myself, but from what you can see, are there more and more people using VR, or is it still quite a ways for people to catch up and to play games on VR?
It's growing and growing, and every year is making bigger the market, the VR market. But of course, it's nothing compares to normal PC or consoles market right now. But the projection is always up. The We love VR not only because of the market, is because we want to tell stories and we want to people to feel and get into the stories. And VR is a great way to do that, because when you put the Google's on, you feel like you're really into this place and you know feeling that what is happening there. So that's what we love about VR. Also, the VR market is not that big, but it's the you know the there are not so many games like in normal market, because Steam is full of games, and every day a lot of game get, you know, launch games and everything. Not only, you know, big games like AAA and so on, even indie games is full of games. So it's really difficult to get to the people that you think is gonna love or like your game. But in VR is not that difficult nowadays, because there are not so many companies. You know, we have talked with so many publishers, you know, that to sell the game and so on. And a lot of them, they are not into VR market yet because they don't know the market is a niche, is not a big market. So even big companies, they're not really exploring this market yet. So it's an opportunity to try to fit somewhere. So that's is all these things is that what we make VR for us interesting.
Well, you're like the pioneers who are blazing through, setting the way for other people.
There are a lot of pioneers. I mean, there are games in VR, and some big games are, you know, like the Half-Life, the last we saw, Alex and so on, Resident Evil. They're trying to get into the market, but it's not that the fight is not that big like in for Steam or so on normal games. You have still an opportunity.
Absolutely. It could be a way for at least your game to stand out. Because even for the podcast, there's no way we can cover even half of all the just adventure games that are released every year.
Yes.
And that's not talking about all other kinds of games, but indie and AAA as well. I mean, I have played VR a couple of times. There are, places here in Ireland, mainly just to shoot zombies, which is pretty cool. But as you mentioned, you want to tell a story then as well. And now, one thing that I hear from people, one concern that they might have is it might make them feel a bit nauseous.
Yes.
So, how do you feel about VR now? Is that still the case, or has VR improved since the early days of VR? And what can people expect? Someone who's never tried VR before, or like me, who's tried this a couple of times, but what can people like us expect nowadays from VR?
VR has improved a lot from the beginning. We started like 5 or 6 years ago with the Oculus developers, the kit, and it was, oh man, so we got so dizzy with that because it was like, I don't know, like crazy. But now with Oculus Quest and the new headsets, of course you can get still like some dizzy or sick or whatever, but is so much better right now. And I know the big companies are working in these measures to help the people to don't get sick playing VR and so on. Even though our game, for example, we know that this is a problem, and that's why we create this game that you don't move around, you don't have movement a lot, it's quite calm. And I mean, you have tension, you have the places, but you don't have to run to anywhere, and you're not gonna have like things running around you and moving and so on. So and another interesting thing that you commented before, you told before, is that the zombie killing, shooting and everything, there are so many games in VR that are, we call them like demo games, because you can play for 5-10 minutes and you're gonna have a lot of fun these 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but after that you're gonna be like tired of playing because so many things happening around you. You have to shoot to so many monsters coming to
Oh
you,
yeah.
or on so on, and after that, oh gosh, you're like done with that. uh, One of the things I told you before that we love about VR is to tell stories, and there are not so many narrative games or adventure games for VR. There are not. There are more like action games. So we had in mind to if we create a game from VR, we will be like a narrative game, a game that people can stay for half an hour playing, don't be in a rush, and enjoy it, and and tell a story. So yeah, we think VR is a powerful tool, but they have a lot to work there, and the way they have to go further in there, and more try more things, not just shooting and
Exactly.
yes.
We're still at the very early stages of VR. So it is, as you mentioned, there are I think few certainly adventure games or narrative games on VR, and VR I think it's the way of the future if it's done well. That I think more and more people could be getting into it, and then setting it up as well. Now I just included a link in the chat for YouTube of your game so people can check it out. Once I figure out how to put screenshots and all on video, I will. But in the meantime, people click that link, people in the chat, and I will include it in the show notes for the podcast as well. So then another thing is that at least before, VR would naturally be quite expensive. There's a lot of cables and it's quite difficult, I've heard, to set up. How is it now? I mean, I know there are different ones. You might be able to give an exact price, but how is it now to set up and with price in general?
So much better right now.
It's
Yes,
great
it
to hear.
is. I told you Oculus Quest was was a blast for the market, because you don't have any cable, you don't need any sensor, anything. It's just it has battery. It's like your mobile. It's the same. It's battery. You plug it to your battery and put it on your head. No sensors, anything. You only hit the headset maps your room and see where you can hit and
Yeah,
everything.
that's good.
and that's it. And you can play with that anywhere you want. And the price is not really, in the beginning was like a more than $1,000 and so on. This one I think is $350, something like that. So it's not cheap, but it's not like in the old times that were crazy, the prices of these headsets.
Okay, yeah, and well, David Fox, who I spoke to last year, I believe, or close to 2 years ago, over a year ago now, he worked, of course, on I think Monkey Island and Timbleweed Park. He's really big into VR. He was talking about how much he loved it and how he's working on VR as well. So it's clear that it is changing. I think changing for the better. So I think in the next few years it will become more mainstream, I believe. And as I said, you guys are some of the pioneers now, setting the stage for us, and yeah. So and then I know we have to finish up probably soon, but with another thing that impressed me because in the prologue was the voice acting with the main character and then one of the other characters as well. I don't want to give too much away. Where did you find these voice actors and how did you record them then? Because they sounded very good.
I know I'm saying all the time the same, but it was a really difficult part of the game too, because to find the right person to in your head when you're writing the story and everything, you have you make your character in your head, right? And it's like when you're reading a book, you're in your head, you have like the vision of the character you're reading about, the voice is going to have, and with these books, when they make the movie, sometimes it doesn't, it's not the same that you figure it. And so that's why so many people do, this movie is nothing like the book, whatever you say, you're always complaining about these adaptations. This is the same. To find the right person is difficult, and more for us because we are in the studio, so we don't have a lot of money to make this prospection and to look and to get a really, really good voice actors that is full of, there are a lot of voice actors and they're really good. So it's even more difficult for us because we have to to fit what the money we have and find the best option we have for this money. And so we contact here with some companies of voice acting here in Spain, and also we look for freelance. Some of them are freelance we saw in other games, or even new people we haven't heard before, and some of them were from these companies specialized in voice acting. For the game, it's been even more difficult because we have more characters than in the prologue. The prologue was short, but this one is a huge story with a lot of lines of dialogues and so on. And it's even more difficult than for the prologue. And in this demo, one of the feedback we got is that some of the voices are not. Some people don't like it a lot, and we're thinking about if we change them. And I told you the feedback is really important, and we have to see if we change them or what. So it's not easy at all to find the right people for the character. Is really, really difficult.
Oh, I can imagine. From the prologue itself, I liked the two voices or the voices that were in the game. I thought they were quite good. They sounded natural.
Yes.
But I haven't yet had a chance to play the demo of the full game. But yeah, and I referenced this quite a bit. The developer of I can't remember the name now. Some of another game who used voice actors. And he said that for him, it wasn't really worth it, very expensive, and the writing would be, the first thing. Now, I would say that I think good voice acting can elevate a game, but then Bad voice acting can bring it down further. But the first thing for me is the writing.
Yes, yes.
I don't know
It's
what
really
your opinion is.
yes. It's really important. Of course, you need a good material to send to these people, but a really good actor can even make like a not really good lines to make them sound like a better. And even if you have a really good lines, a bad actor can make them down, but
Mm,
totally. And so yes, it's a video games and all these artist movies and everything is a group work. You can have a
mm,
really one part that is amazing, but if another part fails, the total is going to be not that good. It's going to be yeah, it's
mm.
really difficult.
Well, from the prologue, I liked the voiceover, so I think you're on the right track. I think.
They were really
uh,
good. The voices in the prologue, they were good. The old lady
mm.
is was really good,
Yeah,
and
she
even
sounded like an. I mean, I don't know how old the actress really is, but she sounded like an old lady because there are a lot of
yes,
times
yes,
when older characters or children, they're clearly adults who
it's
are putting on
difficult to
voices,
find.
and it's
Yes, it's really
mm,
difficult to find adult voices. It's really
mm,
difficult because for girls, it's full of these childish
mm.
voices. It's more easy to find this kind of voices that adult and elder is so difficult. So
Yeah,
yes,
I would certainly encourage people to check out the prologue. How will that will tie into the main game? Then I imagine. I don't know if you are able to say anything at all about how it will tie in, or shall we just
it's
wait?
a prologue, so it's a story. Expand the story of one of the characters, one of the main character of the game, and in the end of the prologue, you can see that this Idja is going to have like a paper in all this big plan of Cthulhu,
Mm,
and but you will have to try the demo first and then the
mm.
game to see where it's going to be and then who is going to be in the game.
Well, I look forward to it. Now, you mentioned as well that the full game would have about 14, 15 chapters, which sounds like a
Yes,
lot. Uh,
yes,
how long would you say the overall game would be, more or less in general?
more
Because
or
I know it's
less
different for different people.
between 6 and 8 hours.
Okay, that's a good amount for adventure games these days. But well, as I said, I really enjoyed the prologue, and so afterwards, that's why I invited you here because I thought I wanted to find out more about it. And I'm looking forward to the main game as well. You said, was it March? You said that you're planning on the game coming out.
We're gonna finish the development around March, and
Okay,
then we have like to QA the game, and publishers
sure.
they have their plans, but yes, I think I don't know, maybe after summer or something like that, because they have to port the game to different platforms and so on. They're saying that maybe around Halloween for this year the game
Okay.
will
Yeah, it could be a
be
good time as well for a horror themed game, of Lovecraft
yes, of course.
game coming out on Halloween. I mean, what I would say is take your time because I know you're doing it in VR and porting. And which consoles are the plan for it to come out on?
For PS, Xbox, and Switch.
Okay, and are they all coming out at the same time?
Sorry?
Are they coming out at the same time
Yes,
for
yes,
different
yes, yes,
consoles? Yeah,
yes, yes. So that's
that's it.
why maybe we have to wait until Halloween because they have to port the game for all the rest of platforms and so on. So
Sure, which I've heard is not easy.
no, I think they will take like 3 or 4 months maybe and something like that each. So yeah.
Well, I think based on what I've seen and the prologue I've seen, I think it'll be worth the wait for us all.
Try.
So
I have to say, try the demo because it's full of different things. We have add
I will.
yeah, some in the gameplay. You have different, things that in the demo. I mean, in the prologue, we had no time to put them. So take a look because I'm sure you will enjoy it.
I
And
will.
the art is totally different. We have a great artist here, and we wanted to do something not so typical Lovecraftian game, and the art is a mix between pulp and collage and something like that. Is quite interesting. So check it out because I'm
I
sure
w-
you guys will like it.
I will indeed. And will the demo be up after the big adventure event, or is it only during
No,
the?
we'll be up there. Yes,
Okay,
this
so it's
is there.
out afterwards.
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Well, we will, I'm sure, be discussing it. And now, for anybody watching live as well, Laura Crest from the podcast, she has a Twitch channel, and I believe this coming Saturday she'll be trying out different demos as well. So it's I believe twitch.com/CrestUp. People can watch her play those demos and see more about the demos as well. So I'd recommend people check that out as well. And then we will be discussing the demos, including Desolation in more detail as well. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have for you, Chema. This wasn't so bad, was it? This first live
It was
interview?
amazing. I think it was cool. I mean,
well, thank you as well to the people in the chat, to Cressup and to Kieran and Lost Train Tube for interacting with us as well. And as I said, this will be up as a video at a later point, and it will be up in the podcast as an audio for people who couldn't meet us today. But is there anything else that you would like to? First of all, where can people find you then? I will include the links in the show notes, but where can people find you if they wanted to find out more about your company and your game?
they can find it in socials like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, looking for Desolation, and the website desolation.com, and on Steam, as you put there. So we have everywhere. We are everywhere.
You're everywhere.
We're everywhere.
Well,
even TikTok. We opened TikTok,
you're on TikTok
last week. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is one thing that I haven't tried. I mean, I'm in my 30s, so I don't know if.
Me too. I'm almost in my 40s. Hey, this year
really? You don't look it.
Yes. You know, the sun in Spain is like that. We are young, but what I don't know. We have a social media person here, Irene, and she told us, why don't we try TikTok? I said, there are studios, video game studios on TikTok. There are some there. We can try. So we tried TikTok last week. We just opened. So I will let you know how it works.
You please do, because we might try it for the podcast. I feel old. I still think it's about people dancing and miming to song. I'm sure it's a lot more now.
I don't know. Maybe we have to dance. We're developing or something like that. I'm not sure, but she's the expert. So.
Well, thank you again, Chema. Hopefully we can meet in person sometime soon, because as I told you, I go to Spain quite often, and I love Spain. I love where you're from as well, Murcia. So hopefully we can catch up sometime.
Whenever you want.
Let
us know, and we are here.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're in Ireland as well, again, please let me know, and I'll be very happy to meet up for a pint. And again, thank you everyone for joining us. And I would encourage people to check out Desolation, first of all, the prologue and the demo, which myself and Laura at least will be talking about later on in the podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to mention, Chema, before we finish?
No, thank you very much for this opportunity. It was fun to be the first time.
Thank you. Yes,
it was really fun. And yeah, the people, please try the Desolation prologue and the demo, and give us feedback. We need feedback from you guys.
Yes.
So anything you see that is weird or you don't like, please let us know.
And
but if you be careful, because remember, Cthulhu is on our side. So.
Exactly. So be careful with your feedback. And if you want to maybe avoid Cthulhu, and especially if you like the game and like the prologue, leave a review on Steam.
Yes,
and
thumbs up.
That really, and wish list, definitely. That's one way to avoid Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Chema. Again, for the people in the live chat in the video, I will be speaking in about 1 hour at 5:00 with Kingblade Games. So you can join us then if you wish. But thank you so much, Chema. Best of luck with the game development and with the big adventure event. And we will talk soon, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.